What's going on, everyone? So Paul George is still out here crying about being the B team instead of going to the Lakers. So he said, I'm on the B team. That's how the vibe and love felt. Full statement was, I think initially coming back to LA, that was home when I first came to LA, but it's not the same love. When I was in LA, they were like, man, you should have been a Laker. That's all I was hearing. It was like, no, welcome to the Clippers. We're happy you're in LA, but you should have been a Laker. I'm on the B team. That's how the vibe and love felt. Well, again, crying. You had an opportunity to be a Laker. The Lakers wanted you. And he got all emotional and in his feelings because the Lakers didn't trade for him, but it made zero sense to trade for him because you could have just assigned him. The reason the Lakers never went to trade for him is because they knew he was coming, or they thought he was coming, right? And then, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they go and pull off the trade, and then Paul George gets all upset and goes, well, one team traded for me, so clearly they want me more. No, it just made no sense. The Lakers are trying to win championships, right? So the idea was, we keep our assets, we keep everything, we sign Paul George, and then you go and make the trade for Anthony Davis. Now you got Paul George, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, right? Paul George would have already won a championship. On top of already winning a championship, he would have been, probably multiple championships, right? Because one, LeBron James and Anthony Davis wouldn't have had as much work to do. And same thing with Paul George. So all three of them potentially would have been healthier. Who knows how good the Lakers would have been with Paul George, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, right? And then even in go back to the Phoenix series, right? After the Lakers won the championship and, Anthony Davis goes down, right? If you had Paul George, we might have still been able to win that series. We were up 2-1. It was looking like we were about to go up 3-1. But the problem was LeBron James was basically on one leg and didn't have enough to go and really just carry the team. But if you had a guy in Paul George who he could have taken over, he could have helped, he could have, the two of them together could have handled more of the workload, then I think that they may have had a real chance. And by the time you get to the next round or two, Anthony Davis is back. Now you go win a championship. In my opinion, I think the Lakers would have beaten Milwaukee without Paul George. I think you add Paul George, I think they definitely clear Milwaukee, right? So you bare minimum probably win back-to-back, but that's including the others. They don't trade for Russell Westbrook, right? Because you're not trading for Russell Westbrook when you have Paul George, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. There's so many things that the dominoes would have fallen, and you would have had a stacked team. Because you could have signed Paul George. You still would have had guys like Alex Caruso, KCP, right? You still would have had depth, talent, versatility. You still, if you wanted to, could have went and traded, Kyle Kuzma and gotten another piece, right? Because at that point, you have Paul George, so maybe it's a little iffy. There's so many things that could have been different. Also, even the Anthony Davis trade. Maybe the Lakers don't trade, a guy like Lonzo Ball, right? Maybe they keep Lonzo Ball, right? And I know now, again, in hindsight, his injuries and stuff like that, but you may have had your point of attack defensive 3-and-D point guard that, now when LeBron goes, I don't want to play on ball anymore, you could have had Lonzo to do that, right? And again, maybe he doesn't get hurt because he doesn't have as big as workload, right? Again, it's the one domino that falls. Obviously, all of it is hypothetical. All of it is what ifs, but it's just funny that this is the third time now since signing with the Sixers that he's talked about, the problems with being a Clipper and, how, the Lakers. And it's dude, focus on the team you're on, right? I understand you got your podcast, right? Talk about the team you're on. Talk about the Sixers and what you can do with the Sixers and Joel Embiid and his struggles in the Olympics and how you should be worried about that. There's a lot to talk about with the Sixers, right? Or talk about the Clippers, right? Again, it's you had your opportunity, but you made your decision. You went to a team in the Clippers and you failed. Now you're more likely than not never going to win a championship. Now, I do think the Sixers are really good. I think that they have a really good team, but Joel Embiid does not look good. And if he's not healthy, they're not winning anything. And there's concerns about, not only Joel Embiid, but Paul George and his injury history, right? And so again, could he make it out the East and win a championship with the Sixers? Sure, right? But he could have with the Clippers. Every year it was the Clippers year. Every year people were taking the Clippers to win. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's best year was going to the conference finals. That was the best year in Clippers history, going to the conference finals, because they had never been. The Lakers, in what many consider their worst season, starting 2-10, had a 0.02% chance of even just making the playoffs, went to the conference finals. Literally, in one of the Lakers' worst seasons ever, they went as far as the Clippers' best season ever. And it's just, again, the one time Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were healthy, you made the conference finals, right? You potentially could have won something, but you didn't. And a lot of that was Paul George too, right? It wasn't just Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi was a big factor. It's hard when, Kawhi Leonard can't play in the playoffs and plays 30 games a season. But, Paul George, he wasn't a model of health. He disappeared at times in the playoffs, right? Pandemic P, all that stuff. There was all kinds of just running memes and jokes about his, inabilities in the postseason, how he completely disappeared in times. Again, it's I get in his defense, he wasn't supposed to be the first guy. He was supposed to be the second, so then he has to be thrusted into being the first guy. But still, it's you made your decision. You made your choice. And you thought it was better to go to the Clippers, first, better to go to stay in OKC, which I get, hey, this is, and it worked out great for Oklahoma City, right? OKC, because they took a gamble on Paul George, and he could have walked and left, and Paul George was like, no, they traded for me, so clearly they want me, and he wanted to do right by them, and then Russell Westbrook go outside, and everything just falls apart, right? Where it's again, you had the opportunity. Now, for OKC, it was great because they got SGA and a bunch of picks, and they basically control the Clippers' future, right? So they're in great shape as far as that goes. That was the best thing that they did, right? Was go and trade for Paul George, because Paul George ended up being loyal to them, and then they were able to trade him. But again, you hear all the, this team would trade me in a heartbeat, and, and Paul George, what did he talk about with the Clippers? Why he didn't sign with the Clippers. And one of the big reasons he left, he wanted a no trade clause. He didn't want them trading him if they weren't going to give him the max. Which signals there's no loyalty. So you wanted to be loyal, you made your decision, and now you're crying about it. You made your choice. It didn't work out. You took a gamble and it didn't pay. It happens, right? Hey, just say it. Be honest about it. Be honest about the situation rather than oh, yeah, with the Clippers. And no one, you knew that. What, you thought you were going to the Clippers and everyone was going to be oh, man, the Clippers had Lob City and for 7 years were the best team in the league, or looked at as the best team in the league, and won nothing. Got nothing. Fans that nobody cared. Why? Because they're the Clippers. They're not the Lakers. It's a Laker town. He grew up being a Laker fan. Grew up in LA. Now he's acting like he didn't know that. Oh, it felt like I was on the B team. Because you were. You were on the B team, Goofy. It's the reality. But you could have been on the A team. You could have been on the A squad. You could have won championships. Now, you're in Philly. Focus on Philly. Focus on all the things you got to do with Philadelphia. Right? Again, I always want to see people succeed. I mean, not at the expense of the Lakers, right? If it's Philadelphia or the Lakers. But if Philly wins and Paul George gets a chip, cool. That's awesome, right? But again, at the end of the day, it's you made your choice. You knew the situation you were going into. They had Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. They were electric, dynamic. They had Doc Rivers. They had as much publicity. They were... the Showtime Clippers, they had all of this publicity. They were bigger than they ever were. And you thought, what, you and Kawhi Leonard go in there, you guys do all the photo shoots, Kawhi Leonard's the king of LA, and blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Your best season was one of the Lakers' worst. It just tells you what the situation. That by itself lets you know, yeah, you were on the B team, my guy. Again, you're on the Sixers. Best of luck to you. Sorry, it blew, you going to the Clippers blew up in your face. Sucks, right? Again, took a gamble. Didn't pay out. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. You agree with me? Do you think like, yeah, dude, this guy's like, you know, just let it go. It's past. It's done. You made your choice. Do you think, no, like he's just, you know, I mean, again, it's a podcast. It's, you know, he's talking, right? I make videos all the time where I'm just talking. Like, I get it. It's nothing to do with the content itself. But, yeah, you put that stuff out there, it gives me something to talk about. And I'm going to talk about it. You had your choice. You had your choice. And you chose wrong. You know, and it was a very blatant, very obvious choice. Right? Like, you go to the Lakers. You go with LeBron. You go with AD. You're winning chips. Let's go. Right? That was the whole plan. That's why the Lakers didn't trade for you. They didn't want to trade for you because they wanted to go get another star and Anthony Davis. They knew Anthony Davis was coming. So they knew if we trade everything for Paul George, then we have no way to go get Anthony Davis. But if you would have stayed, and then they tried to go get Kawhi Leonard when you decided, oh, I'm going to stick around with the Thunder, right? You had your chance. But anyway, again, as always, this is a discussion. Let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.